motorbikes and similar vehicles via green spaces. As a borough, we are being plagued by motorbikes and mini-modes at the moment, travelling on the roads, pavements and also on our parks. A prime example at the moment is the play school on Blackshots Field, which is being terrorised by these bikes and also ruining residents' recreation. Residents are at risk and a tragic accident is waiting to happen. These bikes are not insured or registered. We need to work with the council and police. Since my question to full council last month, the situation has changed. 10 bikes have been seized as a result, and also a few arrests have been made. It appears that many of the youngsters think it is a fun thing to do. They ride on the road and also pavements. I hope this does not cause a fatality. The bikes that are taken are crushed. We need to be vigilant as a council and work as far as we can with the police. I am asking everyone in the chamber to support this motion and also be vigilant in their wards, as this has been ongoing for far too long. Thank you.
Is that second? Would you like to speak now? Reserve your right to speak.
I'll speak now. Yes, my own ward is plagued by these bikes, and it seems as though we're actually on a ring road. They start off in Orsett, they go over to Blackshot, they come down Heath Road into Councillor Cherry and Councillor Rice's ward, cross Orsett Heath, down Hornsby Lane. It seems to be a fun way to go about. And yes, the police have been proactive, but they do need to have a little bit more support from the council itself, in the way of they would like extra cameras, etc. Because what we are beginning to note, and I've done to myself, and even Councillor Cherry, you found where these bikes are coming from or where they seem to gather, and to have some visual cameras out on some of these roads would be good. So I think we're all aware of it, we've all read the press cuttings, etc. It is a plague, I think, mainly for the rural wards and for yours in Chadwell, and I think we should all welcome this motion and support it. Thank you.
Although it's not amusing, I actually was emptying my car 2 Sundays ago, and I saw on the Heath playing field there were these young children. They could have been no more than 4 or 5, and there were their parents with their quad bikes. They got them out of the van by Farm Road, and off they went, and they were supervised. You know, our biggest problem is, as much as, the police do try and help us, we all know the police cuts. The Chief Constable tells us that we will only have some 2,300 police officers by 2020, which is regrettable because when the police authorities were abolished, we actually had 3,600. So we've got a diminishing number of police officers, and already statements are being made by the Chief Constable that, they won't go to antisocial behaviour. I've known residents to actually ring the police, and their answer is, oh, we can't chase these people because we're not allowed to under health and safety. So it's really is regrettable that residents have to put themselves on offer taking pictures. And I quite agree with you. Where there are areas that do have problems, perhaps the council could look at putting some closed-circuit television cameras up and actually see where these culprits, and if we had that information, it might be expensive, but perhaps it can be looked at in cooperation with the police, because if that was captured with a number plate, then perhaps the police then might be more willing to take prosecution on these people. I do know the police, in fairness, I always would speak up for them. They visit the known culprits in the Chadwell area, and they warn them that if they're caught, their bikes will be taken under the particular section. But with a reducing police force, and we've been told only in the last fortnight that Tilbury Police Station will be sold off, South Ockington will be sold off. The one at Corringham was already closed, but that's going to be closed up. So you can see the problems we face.
welcome the motion from Councillor Edsel, and I've got to say this is a big concern for obviously a lot of residents in the borough. And again, we're going back to the issue of making sure that our public amenity space is there for everyone in the public to use and for residents to get the best from. What I can update this chamber on are some of the things that the council has been doing, particularly trying to work very closely with the police. I know the police have had some successes, particularly around the issue of black shots recently, which of course we welcome massively. Over the previous years, the council have undertaken initiatives in support of the police and to discourage the scrambling of quad bike activity in open spaces around the borough. In addition to assisting the police with manned operations, the council has posted signage to advise riders of the potential breaches of Section 59 of the Police Reform Act 2002 that in areas where this has become a big problem. Essex Police have also been working quite closely with the Housing Department about a poster campaign for housing tenants. The council's CCTV team does assist the police with identification of culprits where this is feasible, and actions are currently being taken by the Public Protection Department to increase the availability of mobile CCTV cameras which will be deployable for this purpose, together with using these to encounter environmental crime. So there are more cameras on their way, and they're much smarter because we can move them so the culprits don't just get wise to where they are. And Public Protection will be on, if motion succeeds, Public Protection will be speaking with the police to determine the most useful locations at which to deploy this additional CCTV to explore and to explore the further options of working more closely with the police.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Edsel, for your motion. Like you, I call on the police to, of course, and the council to try and, as much as possible, to prevent illegal racing. I actually a very good avid supporter of Formula 1, and I, of course, was rejoicing with Lewis Hamilton when he had his third win this year. However, there's a place for that, and the place for that in Thurrock is there's a public place. Pay for it and go next to Lakeside, Arena Essex, and you can go ahead and do that there. What we don't want to do is have racing on the streets, whether it be the races around Lakeside area, as you all know, I'd mentioned that, or the squad bikes around the black shots or anywhere else. There's, of course, the Public Space Protection Order, which we, of course, members supported and was put in place in the Lakeside area to protect residents there. I think that this is where this tool comes in much more handy, Madam Mayor, so that at least if this tool were available, let's say with a smaller committee, Councillor Edsel or any other member could go to that committee, let's say Public Protection Committee, and then just apply for that, just that area, and could deal with this there and then, rather than having to come to full council here to deal with it. So I totally support the motion. I'm pleased about what the portfolio holder is doing to prevent this. I'm pleased that that's happening. I'm pleased there are results from the police, despite the number of times we've been reminded about their guns. But at least they're doing something. I think anything to help residents will be very useful. So I totally support the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Roy-Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will definitely be supporting this motion. Like many other residents of Thurrock, I'm sick and tired of these quad bikes and bikes that in Corringham Town Centre, we're plagued with them quite regular. If we had a police station, I do believe that would help the matter, but we're told that police stations don't, should we say, cure crime, but I believe it would, but there you go. So I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Cherry.
I again support this motion, and I'd just like to say, in a way, I've supported it to some extent by where I've seen this happen, especially in Chapelson, where I've approached the people, I speak to them, I let them know who I am, I'm a councillor, let them know what they're doing is wrong, and on occasion I've even taken photographs, which is taking various reactions from these people, but these photographs I've made available to the police to assist them in seizing these vehicles. Now, it's something that we could all consider doing as councillors for our wards. We need to speak to these people. We need to tell them that you're the councillor, what you're doing is wrong, you're upsetting our residents. I'm now going to take a photograph for you, the use of the police, in enabling them to seize your motor vehicle. But first of all, before it gets seized, let them know that they will get a warning. prevent them from doing it. Because after that warning, then the police can seize the vehicle and they can scrap it. So I think this is one way as residents, as the councillors can do to help the residents, is not just to see, as Councillor Rice saw, this family on the heath with their three-year-old, four-year-old kids. We've got to challenge them. We've got to tell them, if you can't do it, stop it. If you're not going to stop it, I will take it further off, and that will be given to the police for them to deal with. And I think this is one way we can go ahead and deal with this. Another way as well is if there's someone, an entrepreneurial person in Thurrock who's got a farmer's field or something like that, can make a few bob. I'm not sure if this is going on in Mucking, but I know that on a Sunday I saw a lot of motorcycles over in that area, so that might well be happening at the moment. If it is, perhaps to advertise that and to let people go there to use their motorbikes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Chair.
It's been going on for decades, especially in Stanford West, and I actually can, agree with Councillor Redsell that our parks and open spaces are being used as unofficial motorbike tracks. Where I used to live many years ago down the Warwick Stanford Hope was an absolute disaster area if you wanted to go for a walk on many days of the week or during a weekend. And at times it was either you jump out of the way of the motorbike or you get run over. Of course, in those days, you had a police force that you could actually rely on to turn up. And in fact, sometimes there, they actually had motocross bikes themselves that used to be able to apprehend the suspects in question. Unfortunately, as we've seen, that the crime commissioner that we now under, that has really ripped the guts out of Essex Police, and we're now seeing that police stations closing across Thurrock. Very, very good idea. But going back to my opening statement, it's something that's been going on for years. And in fact, I can actually remember back in around about 2007, there actually was a piece of work that was being started by a cross-party working group with Thurrock councillors looking for a place for an official motocross track. That obviously fell through the wayside because we wasn't getting the support we was needing by officers at the time. And perhaps it's now a case where we have got the chair of the Planning, Transport and Regeneration Committee. Perhaps he could task officers in his position there to actually look at ask officers to see if there are any available redundant sand pits, for example, or open pieces of land where we can actually shift these people off to, give them the area that they can actually go to, because if you're going to give them nothing, they're going to keep using your parks and open spaces. We sit here during the course of February, of course, when we discuss budgets, and we know that government cuts are biting in deep and hard, and we were asking our environmental officers at a phone call to come out and try and tackle these people. We haven't got the officers, we haven't got the police now. So try and do something of an alternative method and see if there's a bit of land or something away from residents, and try and help those that are going to be using those motorbikes, give them somewhere else to play, but not on our parks and open space.
Yeah, thank you very much. I support the motion. With regard to our parks and green spaces, there isn't any excuse because the Section 59 signs are up. They're not only up there for the young individuals that are riding these bikes, they're also up there for their parents to see in public places. So where do the young people get this disposable income to get these bikes from? Do their parents not know? Of course they do. And if you was a good parent, you would want your child to be using a cycle like this in a safe environment. And we as a council do not give permission for these bikes to use our public spaces, and there will be an accident. So the answer is, when you get these bikes, crush them.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Little.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some of my comments, I do support this motion, by the way. Some of my comments were going to be regarding the fact that most of the little bikes and quads that are going around are not wholly owned by the people that are riding them. Somebody's bought them for them. Most of them are nice, new-looking little things, not all of them. The ones I see that I try to take photos of,
Yes, of course I also support the motion. We have been plagued with bikes and quad bikes on the Alsett Heath field for many, many years, and Councillor Gerard Rice and myself have in total been responsible for about 17 bikes that have been reported and crushed. I have to disagree with Councillor Cherry that a councillor's role is not to approach people who are out there. It's a very dangerous situation to get into, and I just wanted to make that clear, that in no way will I be going up to people on quad bikes or on motorbikes and telling them that I'm a councillor and what they should be doing. But certainly we do take pictures and report it to the police, and we've been very successful in the past in doing that. I just thought I'd make that point, Madam Mayor. I don't think it's a good idea, and I'm sure the police wouldn't advise us to be approaching people who are on quad bikes or 4x4s with their kids.
I'd just like to mention what Councillor Cherry said about going up to these people who are on the bikes. I've got a resident who did exactly that at night with his family, walking the dog, no lights obviously on the bikes, and he was threatened with a knife. And so I don't think that's the right thing to do. As for Councillor Hipsey mentioning in 2007, yes, there was land, a farmer was going to give his land, but the indemnity payout if somebody got killed is too high, and that's why we couldn't go any further